I don't drink alcohol. And I didn't realize until I moved to England that this is a serious personality flaw. The absolute horror when most English people find out, I go, you don't drink? What's wrong with you? I get these macho kind of homophobic guys saying, you don't drink? Are you gay? More like I sleep with women better than you. I'm sober. I can find what I'm looking for. And I've never envied it. I've rarely looked at somebody drunk and thought to myself, that's what's missing. If I could just piss myself. But I get into moral dilemmas because end of the night, I often end up chatting up British woman who's been drinking. I'm sober. I have to ask myself, is she too drunk? If I take her home with me, am I taking advantage? So to be a nice guy, I have to be like a policeman. Assess how drunk she is. My pickup lines are things like, can you walk in a straight line towards the bed? How many fingers am I holding up? Now blow on this. I like it. Even the people who at the first punchline were like, I do not approve of this joke, and then they're like, okay, you got it. But it is an interesting time right now because society as a whole, seems to be trying to be more politically correct. Now, a lot of comedians don't like this. They're like, oh, it's political correctness gone mad. I actually think it's a very good thing. I think it's a good thing because I've lived in societies where people could say whatever they wanted, no consequences. Lived in South Africa when you had people on the news saying racist stuff, nothing happened to them. Lived in places where, like Malawi's pretty misogynistic. We've had like members of parliament saying really sexist, misogynistic stuff. Nothing happens to them. It's better to be here where people care. The only problem, though, is that sometimes people are a little bit oversensitive. So you've got people getting in trouble for misspeaking just as much as somebody who's being actually racist. And I feel like we need to be able to differentiate. Right? I think we need a scale. A scale of 8. Or a color chart. Yeah, no, imagine we had it. Like, you know, every time someone says something stupid on Twitter or something like that, we just look at the card. 1 out of 10 is a little kid who's overheard something, they don't know what they're saying, they repeat it. 10 out of 10, actual racist, member of the KKK, 10! I think we need to try it. Yeah, let's try it. So last year, there were 3 cases where a white celebrity said the N-word. Now, all 3 of them got in just as much trouble. People were yelling at them, people were screaming at them, they got in just as much trouble, but I don't think the cases are the same. So I'm going to go through them one by one, and you, as a crowd, can decide where they belong from 1 to 10. Now don't worry, there'll be jokes in the middle. I can see some people saying, oh, I didn't expect a quiz. And don't worry, it's not a trick, there's no right answer. It's like a survey. I'm just curious, because I do this in different cities, and different people have different ideas of what's acceptable. I'm just curious. So the first case was Katie Price, Jordan. Are you all aware of who Jordan is? You all know Katie Price? Okay. Okay. You don't need to engage with that. But essentially, Katie Price is a page 3 model, I guess a glamour model, and she's white, and her child is mixed race. And she was on a morning show talking about her son being bullied, and she essentially said that, I don't like it, it's not right that people are messaging my son and calling him a nigger. And they got very angry. They said, oh, you can't say that word, Katie Price. How dare you say that word? You can't say that word, Katie Price, you're white. How dare you say that word? The next day, on social media, people were even angrier. They're like, oh my God, Katie Price! You've crossed the line for the last time. I used to be a fan, but no more! No more! I'm never going to masturbate looking at your tits again! People were angry. Calling all kinds of horrible words. And it's interesting, because, look, I'm not saying I like the fact she said it, but at the same time, when I boiled it down, I was like, she was actually saying, don't call a little kid this. I mean, where do you put that from 1 to 10? One. Yell, no wrong answers. One. Oh, one. We all seem to agree. One. I agree. I think people overreacted. I think people are starting to treat nigger like it's Voldemort. Like it's a magic word that should not be said. Or like it's Candyman. Like if you're in a house alone and you look at a mirror and you say, nigger, nigger, nigger. Suddenly, a white American policeman appears. Yeah, I'm terrified of those guys. After Britain's Got Talent, a lot of people said, move to America, it'll be great for your career. I was like, I think I'll stay in England. The second one. Second one was Bill Maher. Are you aware of Bill Maher? Bill Maher is an American comedian. Clap your hands if you know Bill Maher. Okay, not a lot of you. All you need to know, he's a white comedian. He's like a political comedian in America. Very clever, does political stuff. He's a sort of comedian who, if he was in the UK, he'd be on something like Have I Got News For You? But he's white. And he was arguing with someone and he improvised a joke. Essentially, the person was saying, you know, you're overprivileged. You've never worked a day in your life. We need to get you working in the fields. And he said, not me, I'm a house nigga. Ha! It was pretty quick-witted. He thought of it on the spot. It just came out, bam! He just forgot he was white. Forgot he was white. Instead of getting a laugh, the whole crowd just went, and I understand how that can happen. I forget I'm black all the time. Just the other day, I was in an airport, Manchester Airport, and I walked right past one of those random security checks, and I was like, oh, sorry, I forgot. I forgot I'm black. Open the bag. But he was trying to be funny. Now, this happens a lot. Where do you put it? Where do you put it where a comedian is trying to be funny and instead they offend people massively? And it doesn't just happen with race. I mean, like, it's sort of happening right now with Samantha Bee. Offended a lot of people. She called Melania Trump the C word. Right, but in a joke. It's happened with James Corden. Yes, James Corden, very funny guy, but last year he tried to do some jokes about Weinstein and the Me Too movement. He offended a lot of people. Where do you put it? Where a comedian's trying to be funny, but instead of getting laughs, they get some people very angry. Where do you put that from 1 to 10? No wrong answers. Where do you think? Where do you put? 1, 5. Oh, you're pretty, it's interesting. There's a lot of variety when it comes to that because I think we all have a different idea of what we think is acceptable and what's not acceptable when it comes to jokes. And it makes it hard sometimes for comedians and producers. There was a joke I was not allowed to do on television. It was crazy. So let me just tell you the situation. So I wanted to go onto a television show. This wasn't Britain's Got Talent. There was another television show. I went out to do my audition, and there were 2 producers with little clipboards. And so I told them what I thought was my best joke at the time. And this was a joke based on truth. About the day I was reading an article in the newspaper about the Paralympics, the disabled Olympics. I turned the page, and there was an article about paratroopers. I was like, is that the disabled army? Image now of a general coming out and saying, wheelchairs, roll out! Blind snipers, take aim! Amputees, march! Right, 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 right. Now, quite a few of you are laughing. And interestingly, the producers of that show were laughing their asses off. And one of them was like, oh my God, that's so funny. You can't do it. And I was like, why can't I do it? Don't make that joke more mean-spirited than it is. It's not, like I'm bullying anyone. I've just noticed para is in both of these words, and I've taken it to an absurd conclusion. And then he said to me, look, I'm not offended, but other people might be. And this puzzles me. Like, if I offend any of you, by all means, talk to me about it, because I'll either apologize or explain myself, because that's not what I'm trying to do. If I hurt your feelings, I'll own it. But what I don't understand is when people get offended on somebody else's behalf. They're like outsourcing the offendedness to a call center somewhere. But they explain further. They say, look. We would have let you do the joke a few years ago, but in the current climate, we're careful ever since what happened with Frankie Boyle. Now, if you're not aware of this, Frankie Boyle is a Scottish comedian, very clever comedian. A few years ago, he did a joke, disability joke, got him in trouble. Now, I'm not defending the joke. I'm not analyzing the joke. Maybe it was as silly as mine. Maybe it was more mean-spirited. Maybe it was less mean-spirited. But what happened next is what I thought was odd. So he did this joke on television. For weeks afterwards, people were talking about it. On the radio, people were like, how dare this man make these jokes about disabilities? This is disgusting. In the newspaper, people were like, this is not what we want on our television screens. How dare this man make jokes about disabilities? This is disgusting. Everybody was saying, how dare he make it? He's crossed the line. This is disgusting. How dare he make these jokes about disabilities? For 3 weeks, people were talking about this. Then last year, the British government cut the disability benefit. No fucker talking. What's more worthy of a little bit of chit-chat? It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre. Because politicians are clever. They cut the disability benefit, but to make it better, for public relations purposes, they changed the name. It's no longer called the disability benefit. Too offensive. They changed the name to the personal independence payment. More politically correct, half as much money. I guarantee you disabled people would rather you double the money called the Hop, Skip, and Jump Fund.